often get asked what I do. Beep beep, beep beep, beep beep. What are you doing? And when I tell them that I'm a writer, I often get told, oh, I'd love to be a writer, but I don't know how, I never have the time, and I really don't know how to start. Well, today is your lucky day if you're one of those people, because I am going to tell you. The first thing you need to know is that the idea that only creative people can write is untrue. The trick is to find something to write about. What's your passion? Is it aircraft, DIY, horror, science fiction? Who knows? Find your passion, because that's what you're going to be writing about. I've got a great idea for a murder mystery set on a homemade aircraft flown by a dragon. That sounds boring. I'll wait for the film version. There are an unlimited number of topics that you can write about, both in fact and in fiction. And you're not limited. For example, these days I write science fiction, horror, fantasy, urban fantasy, that kind of thing. But a few years ago, I used to make my living writing introductions to law and articles on how to build DIY extensions on your house. So when your extension falls apart, you'll know who to sue and how. Which just goes to show that even if you don't have an idea in your head for a novel, you can still be a writer. Have a think about what subject interests you the most. Can you write something about that? Because I'll tell you now, if you're interested in it, someone else is interested in it, and that's your audience. The Annotated History of Snot. Chapter 1. So now you have your topic, so what's next? Well, if you're a fiction writer, the next step is to outline your plot, so that you know where your story is going and what you want to say with it. Not all writers make outlines, some just sit down and start to write, but I've always found that making an outline helps avoid the main source of writer's block, which is not knowing where you're going next with the story. Plot out a basic guide to where your plot is going, and then you can sit down and work on it more easily. Non-fiction writers have a different route to go down. You've got to decide whether you're writing for your own publication, such as a blog, website, or maybe a newsletter of your own, or whether you're going to pitch to an existing publication, such as a magazine or website. And whether you're self-published or not, you're going to need to outline everything you're going to write about, chapter by chapter or section by section. This has the same advantage as when writing fiction. You'll know what will go where, and it makes the whole writing process easier. If you're pitching to a magazine or website, you're going to need to send them that outline you've just written so that they can have a look at it and decide whether what you're pitching to them is right for their publication. You'll also need to set out your word limit for your article or whatever, which will usually be determined by the submission guide of the website or other publication. You can usually find this on their website, but if you can't, you can email them and they will send you a copy of their submission guidelines, providing they're actually taking submissions. Follow what it says in the submissions guide. I cannot stress that enough. You'll need to add a covering letter with your outline. This tells the editor who you are, why you're the right person to write about this particular subject, and exactly what you want to write about. Dear editor, name. I am a British legal and DIY writer with 7 years experience in the field. I have been published by so many websites that they are coming out of my ears, and I love to talk at length about the law. So I am the perfect choice to write an article for your new website, How to Bore People to Death with Legislation. Not all magazines or websites will respond to your submission, and of those who do respond, not all will accept. You're just going to have to deal with that, and the best way to do that is to tweak the submission and send it off to another magazine or other publication that deals with the same area. While you're waiting on a response, you can then get back to putting out other submission ideas. Now, once you've got a submission accepted, or if you're writing for yourself, once you decide to sit down and write, you can actually sit down and write. And a lot of people, when they first sit down to put finger to keyboard or pen to paper, will be fretting over the fact that they don't know exactly what to write. Don't worry about it. Personally, I find the opening sentence is the hardest. Before you get that first sentence, the screen is blank, and although nature abhors a vacuum, writing is the exception that proves the rule. When it comes to writing, a blank screen can cause a blank mind. Here's how to not fall into that trap. You can start your article, novel, or whatever you're writing with an opening statement that's either the start of an anecdote, as I did with the start of this video. I often get asked what I do, or a line that sums up the theme of your writing. And here's an example of that from a book that I'm currently writing. Peter wiped the blood and vomit from his unconscious friend's face and knew that today was going to be a bad day. This story is an urban fantasy tale featuring a protagonist who is very, very ill. I want to make the reader aware right from the start that this wasn't a typical invulnerable action hero type of story where the hero will take bullets here, there and everywhere, and still just go on because it's just a flesh wound and they will be able to save the day no matter what. So, right from the start, I have the hero very, very ill. This technique has two advantages. The first one being that it gets something down on the screen or on the paper to fill that gaping void in front of you. And the second one is that it sets the mood of your story right from the start. And for me, that's the key to good writing. So, find a way to sum up exactly what it is you want to say with your story and put that down right at the start. Don't worry if it's not the best writing you've ever seen or even the best writing you've ever personally done. It doesn't matter. Get it down on the paper, move on, because now you've got something there and you can get on with the rest of your story. Edit later. Don't worry about editing now. Get it all down and then you can come back to it later. So how do you go on from the next part from there? Well, the trick after that is to just put down every word, one after another, because you've already got your outline, you know where you're going, so just go from there to there, and if you can't do that bit particularly there, go on to another bit, because you've got your outline, you know exactly where you're going, and you'll know that you can start here, and you'll need to be from there to there later, but you can come back because you know exactly what goes in there. So don't worry about it. Put down piece by piece and build it up, and that's how you become a writer. Okay, that's all we've got time for this week, so thank you very much for watching. I hope you did like this, and if you did, remember to click the like button. Share it with your friends so that they can get some tips on how to be a writer too, and do subscribe for future videos because there will be more in the future. But until next time, I've been Kirk-Robinson, you've been watching The Knobmouse Show, and I'll see you next week.